I'm looking you all up on LinkedIn right now. Checking you guys out.
So, welcome to our attendees as you're starting to filter in. Welcome to the Tustin Unified Culinary and Hospitality Industry Panel for the College and Career Expo. What we would like to say is if you do have any questions, please put them in the Q&A, and we will hopefully have time to get to all of them. We'll give it just another minute as I see there's still people filtering in. We'll give it just another minute and then we'll get started.
Got it.
Thank you very much.
We'll go ahead and get started. Welcome again to the Tustin Unified School District's College and Career Expo. This is the Culinary and Hospitality Advisory Board. We have a great panel tonight for you. We have a lot of really excellent folks who I think will give you some excellent advice on getting into culinary and hospitality during these challenging times. My name is Brian Dozer. I'm the president of VitalLink. VitalLink is a nonprofit organization actually in Tustin that focuses on helping students like yourselves find your dream careers. And we have been working with the school district, with your school district and your administrators to build out the College and Career Expo. So we're very excited to have you and very excited to have all of our panelists. What I'm going to do, I am not from the culinary and hospitality industry. I am from the nonprofit and education industry. So, but I will serve as the moderator, and we have a number of questions that we're going to ask. Again, if you're just joining us, if you do have questions, please put them in the Q&A. So first off, I'm going to go around the horn and have everyone introduce themselves. So Zachary Kearns, do you want to go first? You're muted.
Sorry about that. Good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, so my name is Zach Kearns. I'm the Director of Operations at Paseo Hotel and Spa in Huntington Beach. So I've been in the industry for almost about 20 years now through a variety of properties in California, Oregon, and most recently in South Carolina, in Charleston, and recently came back home to California. So definitely happy to be here and offer any guidance I can. So thank you so much.
All right, wonderful. John.
Yeah, my name is John Gelati. I've been working in hospitality IT for about 25 years, mostly in Southern California. I've worked for 2 technology providers based out here, and then 5 different restaurant brands. So happy to be here.
All right, wonderful. Starla.
Yes, hello, everyone. My name is Chef Starla Hampton. I have been working in the industry for 20 years in different food service aspects, including hospitals, hotels, schools. And I'm here to just give you a little bit more about on the cooking side and the back of the house side in the restaurant industry. I graduated from Cal Poly Pomona with a bachelor's degree in hospitality management. I'm currently working on my master's as of right now. And I was working with Anaheim Marriott until COVID.
Okay. Welcome. Andrew.
Thank you.
Hey, how you doing? My name is Andrew Gruhl. I'm the chef founder of Slapfish Restaurant Group. We started in Huntington Beach, California. We've got 27 locations nationwide, 9 different states, 2 different countries. Started in 2011 as a food truck and kind of grew into a franchise from there. I'm here to tell my story and help out wherever is necessary.
Yeah, you have a location right down the street from us, I believe, on, what is it, Barranca and Red Hill?
We do. There's a new food hall over there, Flight, the mess hall, and we've got Slapfish in there. I've got a couple other concepts around the area as well. One more in that center called Big Parm. It's a pizza spot. All
right, wonderful. Well, welcome. Anthony.
Good evening to all. My name is Anthony Hartwell. I'm the hotel manager at the Westin at South Coast Plaza. Prior to that, I was a resident manager at Newport Beach Hotel and Spa. I've been executive chef for about 15 years before I became a hotel manager. I graduated the Cordon Bleu Hotels that I've worked for before is Marriott, of course, the Westin, and the Ritz-Carlton. And I'm here to share all my knowledge for all those future ones that want to work in the hospitality industry.
All right, wonderful. Thank you for joining us. Bill.
Hi, everybody. I'm Bill Yee. I'm the Vice President of the American Culinary Federation of Los Angeles chapter. I own the Alhambra Culinary School and LA Omelets Catering Services. I'm on the culinary boards of several different high schools and colleges in the area. And coincidentally, right now, with the Masters Golf Tournament going on in Augusta, I was a sous chef there for 3 years in Augusta. I'm also the ambassador for New Chef, Chef Coats, are familiar with them, and a graduate of Le Cordon Bleu. And lastly, I'm the artistic director of the Alhambra Performing Arts Center.
Oh, wow. Fantastic. Thank you for joining us. And last but not least, Trin.
Good evening. My name is Trin Hinson, and I am an owner of 3 Nothing Bun Cakes, one in the district in Tustin, one in Brea, and one in Orange. And I've been in this business now going on almost 10 years.
Oh, my wife is going to be so happy that I talked to somebody from Nothing But Cakes tonight.
Awesome.
Well, welcome, and thanks to all of you for joining us. So for our participants, again, you've already put some questions in there. Those are, I love the first one that I saw. I haven't looked at the second one. I'll get around to it in a second. But I have a number of questions we're going to ask. We won't have time to have every question answered by everyone. So, what I'll do is I'll pick on a couple of people and we'll move it around. Zachary, since you're in the upper left, I'm going to start with you. What are the requirements to get into the industry? One of the things that we hear from students is, I can't get in because I don't have any experience. I can't get any experience because I can't get in. What do we need to do? What's your take on that?
No, absolutely. Good question. It's definitely one I've heard throughout my career, as I've interviewed a lot of people trying to get into the industry, and particularly students that are graduating college, that are getting a degree in hospitality management, business management, or whatever, and like, oh, I've never had a job in hospitality. One thing I'll say, I started working at a hotel when I was 16, just as a summer job. And, one of the things that was a advantage for me once I was in college and I was, in my middle of my curriculum, a lot of my peers had never worked in a hotel before. So, a lot of the, terminology, whatever the case was foreign to most of them. And I've worked in hotels ever since 16, even through college. I was a night auditor in college, so I would go to school all day, and then I would do the graveyard shift. And so snuck in some free time occasionally. But honestly, the really important thing that I always suggest is especially now with, as I'm sure many else will say, is the industry has definitely changed dramatically in these past 9 to 10 months since COVID has hit. So a lot of those opportunities that were there before as like an ideal internship really are hard to find. And at least on maybe on the operations side, perhaps culinary is not my expertise, so maybe the others can comment on that. But really don't be afraid to to pursue any other any other positions that's in a hotel. And if you do get in either culinary or the operations side in the hotel, if somebody gives you an opportunity to learn something different, make use of all of those as much as you can, and learn as much as you can in any of those opportunities, because it's definitely going to help you down the road. As I said, it is going to be tricky, I think, in the months and potentially years to come until things kind of settle.
Yeah. So Starla, Zach said he was covering the hotel side, but he couldn't necessarily speak to the chef or restaurant side. What's your take on that question?
One thing I would definitely say is networking. You have to be confident in yourself, and you have to make sure that you go out and, you introduce yourself to different people. You have to be a people person, always smiling, and just really, pressing the issue about networking. You know, it's not all the time what you know, sometimes it's who you know as well. So, you know, just building a rapport with people and just letting them know, you know, I'm a hard worker, explaining yourself, you know, maybe giving your couple minutes of telling them who you are and just to familiarize yourself with them. And then, you know, asking them for their name or their number, their email, that always helps, I believe. Definitely work networking.
Okay, fantastic. Anybody else have anything to add on that question? Sure, Bill.
Couple things. Of course, many of the culinary schools are open online. I'm associated with quite a few of them. If you're familiar with Los Angeles Trade Tech, their new $49 million building is just being completed as we speak. And they're starting to recruit for more students. But quite a few of the traditional culinary schools are in fact working through that process. There was mention of apprenticeships, if you can find one. That's always something quick to start. And I always suggest that, you know, you have to start at the bottom as a dishwasher, like half the chefs in the world. Start off as a dishwasher, move up to a prep cook. That's another way. YouTube videos, of course, by the thousands are very helpful today. At least in starting your basic, you know, your basic knife skills and things like that. And the last thing is that the American Culinary Federation, the National Association, does have mentorship programs. Of course, they're networked. They're very happy to help new people, you know, come into the industry at the association level and network with other chefs from around the world. Facebook for me has always been a useful tool for communicating this. There are thousands of chefs on that who are always willing to help new people get into the industry.
All right, fantastic. Anthony, what's an average day look like in your job?
Well, pre-COVID and COVID, it's 2 different days, but I would just talk before the epidemic that we're in right now, especially in a hotel. It's one of the reasons I was attracted to the industry is because it changes day to day. But in the field, as far as hospitality in a hotel, it's all about making sure that you have a system in place. What I mean by that, understanding what you have to produce for the day from a culinary standpoint and from a front of the house or anything else, making sure that you know your arrivals and your departures. And as a leader in the hospitality industry, making sure that you're orchestrating as appropriately as you see fit. Especially in the kitchen, an executive chef's role isn't necessarily to be there on the line at all times, but to understand the production of food, make sure that the food is being handled properly throughout the production and to service. And I would say even more importantly with COVID-19, that sanitation is in the forefront of everybody's mind. So making sure that you're looking at that during all aspects of the operation day to day.
Yeah, I would imagine it's much more challenging, you know, on that last aspect these days. Andrew, what about you? What's an average day look like for you?
Well, definitely the average day has changed a lot over the past year or so, but regardless, you know, of some of the changes, that's a great point. Picking up on where you left off is that it's all, you know, safety and sanitation right now is the most important thing, although it's always been important to us in the restaurant industry. So I think that's one thing that maybe hasn't really gotten across in the media, is that restaurants are actually naturally incredibly safe places, and we're all very well trained. But of course, right now it's about communicating and marketing that to the guests, and then from there, just really trying to stay on top of, you know, on top of the unit economics, right? You know, with revenues down in many places, revenues solve everything. So in the absence of revenues, we've got to be really tight on the bottom line, but still stay fresh, remain as a, you know, kind of on the forefront of branding, especially for us in the seafood space. And then on the supply chain management, that's been going all over the place. I mean, look at the stock market, right? It's just so volatile. I mean, it's up, it's down, it's all over the place. That can still be, that's reflected, of course, in the supply chain indexes as well. So always staying on top of where we're going to be looking at futures on our purchases, especially across 27 locations.
Yeah, I can imagine. I was just having the supply chain discussion with a friend of mine today about the biking industry. You know, we're seeing it across so many different industries. I can imagine, especially, you know, for you right now, that's a huge concern. One of the questions that came in already that I really like is, and maybe there's not a positive answer to this, but how were you sure that this is what you wanted to do for the rest of your life, John? You're muted, John.
There we go. Yeah, so I actually, I did a little research back in the day, and I had already been in restaurants really my whole life, just, growing up through high school. And so I read this article, and it was forecasting where the jobs are going to be in 10 and 20 years, and it was they were in hospitality and accounting, and so this goes back about 20 years. And so I specialized in hospitality IT, and that's kind of a cross, that's the crossroads between accounting and operations. And up until COVID, I can tell you, jobs have come to me. Like, it's been a booming industry, and there's no shortage of opportunities if you hustle and you take care of your customer and maintain great relationships with people. You'll be successful. So that was
Okay.
kind of what did it for me.
All right, fantastic. Trin, what about you?
Sure. Well, before the bun cake world, I spent nearly 30 years working in the automobile insurance business. And since I left there 10 years ago, there's been absolutely no regrets. I've always had a dream of owning my own business someday. And in my research of what kind of business I would like to own, I decided that I really didn't have the experience to just go out on my own and start a business from scratch. So I thought the next best opportunity would be to look into owning a franchise. And so I found Nothing Bun Cakes, did some research on that, and found that there was a really good fit for my own personality and skill set. And it seems like it would be something that I would enjoy working in and at. I'm a workaholic by nature anyways, and so why work hard for somebody else rather than just work for myself and be my own boss. And I have found that I keep telling everybody is a bad day at the bakery beats any great days in corporate America for me.
It's interesting you mentioned being a workaholic. My impression, and feel free for anybody to correct me if I'm wrong or to chime in, but one of my impressions about culinary and hospitality is that most of the jobs are not your typical, Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, go in, punch in, do your work and go home type of jobs. Would that be an accurate assessment? Anybody have any thoughts on that? Yeah, Anthony.
Yeah, I think that's an accurate assessment. I think all the members here would agree with that. The only thing I would go back to say is that in this industry, in hospitality, and especially in culinary, if you don't enjoy what you're doing, it's going to show sooner or later. It's a lot of sacrifice to be a chef or a culinarian. I mean, the hours that you work and the time that you put in, the people you work with really becomes your surrogate family because you don't spend a lot of time at home. So if you're thinking about the industry, you really need to weigh the weight of knowing what it is to work in this industry. And I have to tell you, it's one of the most rewarding. You can go into a restaurant and feed 150 people for dinner service and get immediate gratification, know that you well fed them. And the same thing to hospitality. I've checked in, 400, 500 people in a day and having immediate gratification, knowing that each one of them said, you know what, that was the best stay I had, or, I really enjoyed the check-in service I had. So really enjoy what you're doing, but it's very rewarding in the same instance too.
Okay. Anybody else have any thoughts on that?
I would like to say
Sure.
something.
Sure.
Definitely the holidays. You have to think with culinary, like right now, Thanksgiving is coming up, Christmas, New Year's, there are really no days off in culinary. So, you might get a day, but once the holidays get going, a lot of people still order food. And even, as we can say before COVID, a lot of parties and banquets for companies and stuff like that. So definitely it's 24/7. So if you like working and you like putting in the time and effort and don't mind doing holidays or, events, then I think that this is the industry for you.
Okay. So COVID has come up a number of times and I know it's something that is very top of mind for culinary and hospitality. Anyone have any predictions? You know, what's happening with hiring? What's happening? Do you see a change in the skills that you're looking for? You know, is there going to be a new normal? Does anybody have any thoughts on that for our students? I'm going to pick on somebody. Okay, go ahead, Zach.
Yeah, I'll touch a little bit on that. You know, obviously it's a topic discussed, you know, on a daily basis on, you know, where is the business going? And, you know, obviously, you know, seeing what recent news in the media of, you know, perhaps with us being closer to, to a vaccine, I think that is going to be a major impact in a positive way if that is true, just in the fact of obviously the amount of comfort that's going to bring back to all of our, you know, our customers, our guests, or, you know, patrons of, you know, restaurants or whatever the case is. And, you know, if that is the case, you know, then I think that we, you know, should expect to see things start to, you know, not necessarily be back completely to normal, but, you know, a much better version of, you know, what we've experienced these past, 9 months. Yeah. So, you know, that is kind of where obviously the hope is lying, you know, as some of the others have said, you know, for hospitality, you know, especially for, you know, for any hotel, it's heavily reliant on business from, you know, from groups or for catering events or, you know, whatever. Obviously, you know, guests on leisure are only, you know, a few periods of the year where you would expect to see them. So, you know, that's the struggle that a lot of you know, mainly hotels are, you know, experiencing right now, is because companies are not traveling because it's, you know, it's not safe. And, you know, so obviously there's a lot of speculation on that topic, and, you know, obviously everybody can, you know, form their own opinion on that. But, you know, obviously from people in the industry, obviously it's going to be very critical because I think, you know, in these past 9 months, you know, all of us that, you know, my hotel never closed. We obviously have taken a lot of precautions to make sure that, you know, our guests feel safe. There's a lot of other technologies that have been implemented to, you know, for hotels to use, or restaurants, whatever, you know, which is, you know, UV technology. I don't have that yet here, but, you know, obviously of, you know, additional disinfecting, you know, in your public spaces or your guest rooms or your kitchens or, you know, or wherever the case might be. So that's going to be a ticket for sure moving forward.
All right, fantastic. John?
Yeah, I just wanted to maybe add a couple of things there.
Mm-hmm.
What we've seen is that I think a lot of the smaller restaurants are just getting crushed. And so the larger restaurants, the ones that I've worked with anyways, and I just know the way funding works, they're going to get funded and take up those spaces. So you know, people aren't going to stop eating. We all want to go out to eat and socialize, you know, in a safe environment. And I just think that there's going to be a shift. You know, hopefully it's temporary. I like the smaller restaurants with more personal touch, but I think in, you know, the immediate future, we're going to see a shift, you know, into corporate chains growing. They're going to be sucking up the real estate. I think that's, if I had to make a prediction, that's probably where that's going to be at.
Sure. Anthony?
Yeah, I don't think it's all doom and gloom. I agree with John, what he's saying, and also Zachary. But I think the future is bright. We all got to eat at some point in time. I think the ones that have figured it out are the ones winning. Local communities, restaurants are really booming right now. I mean, if I was a restaurateur, it's really finding out how do you connect to the community. They have some food markets where they open up and sell their dry goods and produce to the community. That's great. And also marketing, Andrew brought up, you're a chef or you're a restaurateur, it's all about marketing also too. And then the thing I like is the creativity. All chefs, all the people in hospitality seem to be the ones that use the side of the brain that are creative, right? It's like an artist. If you can decide on how to make outdoor dining the place to be, we're in Southern California. We got great weather 365 days out of the year. If you can make a patio setting just as attractive as inside, you're going to win. And you connect that with the community. So I think that's it's a bright future for those who are looking to change the way people dine.
Sure. Yeah, Bill.
A couple of points. I see that the movement, of course, right now, to me, and I do the COVID-19 restaurant reviews in my area, is the movement for comfort food, as most of us know, easy to do, easy to get. And the restaurants that are, doing well, of course, are the fast food takeout places. They're actually pretty jammed up. Your typical McDonald's, Pandas, pizza places. Also, in terms of outdoor dining, I've seen an improvement in the technique of actually doing outdoor dining. One example, I was out in Santa Monica. Surprising that a lot of the stores are open, but Santa Monica has a prevalence of outdoor dining, and several of the restaurants even took down their total front to make it open. So the outdoor dining actually extends into the restaurant. Yes, they get away with it, but they're full. There's waiting lines. So if you haven't been to Santa Monica, if you're out this way, I was happy to see that. And of course, the other thing is there still needs to be an improvement in the PPE, because I see the servers, some of them wearing masks and shields. Some of them are doing a combination or whatever. But I think you'll see these efforts. And one more thing, I think, I'm from New York originally, but I still saw an article that the automats may be coming back. The old takeout cafeterias where you lift the lid and you put your quarters in and you take out your hot meals. So maybe that technology will be part of the new future coming up.
Oh, that's interesting. Andrew, what's your take? I mean, you own restaurants. What are you saying?
Well, I would say two things. I mean, directing this towards our audience, I think now, because it's such an unknown, atmosphere about when it comes to hiring, et cetera, if you're young and you're hungry, now's the time to get in to all the restaurants that you otherwise may not have been able to get into, because restaurants are still hiring, right? We're always going to be essential. So even if things go into the full lockdown mode, which is happening right now, I mean, we've got 2 restaurants in New Mexico. We just went into lockdown today, so we're doing only takeout. We anticipated that happening, so we got ahead of that with contingency plans in order to increase the check average, knowing sales were going to go down, right? Larger family style meals, et cetera, et cetera. So being creative, but as a student or as a young a young wonder, if you will, now's the time to get into the restaurants, from anything from washing dishes to kind of helping out wherever help is necessary, because you may not have otherwise been able to get into those restaurants. So look at the opportunities within this, right? Every negative has an equal and opposite positive. So.
Okay.
Like that.
Yeah. I think there has been so much doom and gloom out there. It's nice to hear some positivity, especially for, one of the industries that's been hit the hardest. So one of the things that comes up very frequently during these industry panels is the topic of soft skills, and that a lot of times as hiring managers, there are some deficits in terms of soft skills that you're seeing with the incoming workforce. Trin, what are your thoughts on this? What do you see?
Yeah, definitely. What I'm seeing, the skill sets that I think are important in any job, but particularly in the hospitality industry, would be customer service and teamwork. There's not any, unfortunately, there's not any schools or classes or anything that you can go and learn how to do customer service skills. But that is, however, you can learn that on the job and based on your own personality as well. And so customer service and then teamwork, because in our business there's not one single person who can do the job all by himself or herself. You rely on your peers, coworkers. We rely on the guest service person to take the phone orders or interact directly with the guest to take the order, take it accurately. And then we depend on a baker to bake the cake right, high quality and looks beautiful. And then we depend on a froster to apply the frosting onto the cake. And then we depend on our cake decorator to make the cake look beautiful. And then that whole product then goes out to to the guests. And then behind all that also is very, very important is the what we call the utility person, who is the dishwasher. And so he has to keep he or she has to keep a bakery clean and pots and pans shiny and sanitized and all that kind of stuff. So it takes an entire team in order to get the final product out to the guest. And so you have to have the skill set that is working as a team. And that could stem from in school. You can build your team building skills from participating in various school activities, from clubs to sports and even at church or anything like that. But yeah, customer service skills and teamwork, those are the two soft skills that are extremely important in this particular industry, but really anywhere.
Okay. Are there other soft skills that anybody else, thinks that students that you're not seeing that a student could work on that would set them apart? John?
I can speak to that a little bit. So, just from maybe like the front of the house perspective, I've worked in brands where they're just completely based on the relationship with the customer. And that's really what gets customers to come back. It's what can get an average experience. Maybe something happened, the food was late, and it can turn it into a great experience for the customer. And so it's really, I think, delivering the services to the guests that's a clutch role, and it's up to the people doing directly serving. Everybody producing the food has to happen right, and it's up to the management staff to staff things correctly and make sure the chemistry is right for everybody involved. Being attentive, I think maybe some of the younger kids don't have the experience of serving people and really kind of being intuitive to their needs. And that's kind of what it takes. You're on a stage and you need to anticipate what the customer needs, and that's as easy as it is to make them happy. So
yeah. So one of the questions that came up was, what classes should high school students take? I mean, obviously, if you want to go into culinary, you should look for culinary classes. But are there other classes that they might not be thinking of that could be beneficial? Whether it's on the hotel side or the restaurant side, or as a chef or a hotel manager. Does anybody have any thoughts on that?
I have another thought on that. Sure. I've taken some accounting classes, and they teach you to be, just to understand the numbers of a business, because a restaurant is a business. And whether you're the dishwasher, the general manager, or a district manager, you need to understand the economy behind serving food. It's like any other business. You're manufacturing food, and there's labor. And so I think anything that really speaks to business speaks to the restaurant business as well.
Okay. All right. Anybody else have any thoughts on that?
Yeah,
Bill.
do.
Oh, so I'll take Bill first, and then we'll come back to you, Starla. I saw his hand. Sorry.
I was also previously a culinary recruiter for a Beverly Hills staffing agency for 5 years, and I probably hired almost 2,000 students from most of the culinary schools, and working with them, because I also work the jobs. One of the things that I still think needs to be stressed is your basic life skills, because there's a lot of stuff being taught in a culinary school. But when I see students that I work beside still not able to cut an onion correctly, or know how to hold a knife, or know what a cut glove is, and those are basic issues, which I think is very important. Because every time I go to a job at a hotel or something through the agency, the first thing the chef is probably looking at me at my knife skills, and those things. The other thing is the familiarity with commercial kitchen equipment. There are some improvements today with rationales and all that, but so often the culinary schools may not actually have all the equipment, or the students may not be familiar with equipment in general. And one of the things that I think is always good is working the line. And whether it's a restaurant or hotels or whatever, if the student understands what that means and knows what tickets are and how things have to progress and how you actually have to move along and you have to have stuff prepped up, that by itself, I think, is a basic aspect which is often not pressed enough or taught enough in the schools.
Okay, fantastic. Starla?
Yes, pinpointing on what Chef Yee said as well. Before I went to Cal Poly Pomona, I started at Los Angeles Trade Technical College. And some of the classes that were there, like he said, just decent knife skills and learning the kitchen. Those classes are good as well, but you also want to get the experience and you want to be in the kitchen. You want to ask questions. You want to, pull the chef to the side and ask them about temperatures and making sure, maintaining sanitation logs and temperature logs, which is all important. So I would also suggest SurfSave. They have courses that you could take online, and you don't even have to really be in the classroom. It might be an 8-hour course or a 10-hour course or something on that era.
Okay. So one of the questions that came in that I like is, and I'm gonna tweak it just a little bit, but it said, how long does it take to be the manager of a hotel? I would tweak that and say, how long does it take to be what you're doing? If a couple of you could kind of give us your path and how you got to where you are. I always think that that's very important for students to understand, because rarely is it really linear for someone. Yeah, Anthony.
Yeah, it's not a timeline. I say you need to make yourself available, making sure that you're the first one to raise your hand and say, hey, I'll try that out, and have a positive attitude. Who doesn't want to be around somebody or have somebody on a team that's positive? And I think the thing that worked out best for me is that if I'm the assistant manager, I want to know what the manager does. So always thinking one level ahead of yourself. And asking them questions and kind of getting my job done so I can follow them. And then the other thing is just do your resource. Be able to go out and go and experience different types of hospitality in different hotels. So you're able to understand that and articulate that in your communication skills, either in hiring or leading a team.
All right, fantastic. Andrew, how did you end up doing what you're doing? You're muted.
I ask myself the same question frequently. But, for me, it was just about baby steps, right? Not eating the elephant all at once, eating one bite at a time. Getting excited about one aspect of the kitchen. I was fascinated by the world of the kitchen, right? And hospitality, hotels, restaurants, how they all kind of integrate with one another. But once again, it's like really just focusing on that one part. When I was told I was going to be a dishwasher, I told myself I was going to be the best darn dishwasher there was, right? How do I maximize efficiencies within the calculus of a dish pit, right? Then from there, it moved into the line. And then it's kind of like as Anthony said, right? Thinking outside, thinking in your role, but then thinking kind of outside of that. So then obviously the natural progression for me was to kind of work through the corporate side of it and then really try and understand the entrepreneurial side, which drove me into starting my own business because I saw a need in the space.
Okay. So we only have about 6 minutes left. There's one question that I ask every time I do one of these panels. I think is really a great question that a student asked early on, and I'm going to ask each of you to answer this in under a minute. What's one thing you would tell your younger self, to either do differently or that you wish you had known? What's one piece of advice, if you could speak to your high school self, that you would give yourself? Zach, do you want to go first?
Sure. I guess thinking back to my high school self, originally I wanted to be a teacher, and I had already been working in the hospitality industry, and I didn't even think of it as an option back then, to be honest, or as a career path. And then I think if I look back, I wish I maybe would have recognized that sooner. I think I still caught it in plenty of time, but definitely, as many have said, please just make the most of any opportunity that is presented to you, and make the most of it. I think all can agree. You're never going to be, and I tell this to a lot of people, you're never going to be looked at as like, oh well, Bill's been here for 5 years, so he should get the next opportunity. You're going to make you're going to make the opportunities that you make for yourself through, your hard work and dedication and eagerness to learn. And those are the people that we look at that are going to continue to make impacts, in our industry, in our business. And we obviously are very willing to help you along the way. So thank you.
All right, fantastic. John? You're muted.
I think Andrew hit on it. I have it like really on the top of my list, and that's just be the best at what you're doing. Be so present in what you're doing. And to Andrew's point, if it's doing the dishes, be the best at that. And that's what really propels you into a career.
Fantastic. Bill?
Well, I guess I was fortunate to be born and grow up in New York. I always had the personal inclination to try to excel whatever I did. One small example, when I was 8 years old, I saw Yashka Heifetz play the violin on TV, and in black and white TV. And I said, Mom, I want to do that. She got me into a Columbia School of Music in Brooklyn. 4 years later, I was playing in Carnegie Hall.
Wow.
And I actually had a standing ovation before I started because 32 musicians before me only played the accordion. In high school, I was too small to play football or baseball, but I kind of like this little thing called fencing. So I got a fencing master to teach me in Manhattan. Second year, I was the captain of the team. Of course, I did improve my dating opportunities, but it was a good thing. In 1971, I started in an industry which you may have heard about. It's called the waterbed industry. And I was one of the pioneers in Boston. I was a part owner of 8 stores by the time I was 25 years old. And later on, when I moved to Hawaii, I actually got into financial services. And within 3-4 years, I was the owner of a mortgage banking company, still, trying to get through it, but also one of the founders of the state association. And late in life, I had opportunities to do other things. And this whole thing with culinary is only because I wanted to complete my college education. And to do so, I was able to go through the Cordon Bleu, get my college degree, and continue working through that. I became the president of the Alumni Association. And then I worked for this Beverly Hills staffing agency. And whatever communities you're in, that's an opportunity to work at many venues, which you may not be able to do. So I spent many years in 5-star hotels, convention centers, working for all the big companies, roughly 200 commercial companies, up to the Masters in Augusta, Georgia, in my short career. So just excel whatever you're trying to do, but make a point of excelling and be professional.
Yeah, you've been all over the place. Anthony?
Wow, it's tough. If I could say anything, my wife would probably agree with this. Take the time to enjoy the journey. The industry we're in is very, very fast paced, and in a blink of an eye, you can miss your first child's walk steps, so really enjoy the journey. I think sometimes I reflect on it. I think I missed some things in life, some of those milestones, because of the fast pace that we're in. And then one of the things I live by is success is not a matter of what you achieve, it's on the way you acquire it. So, a lot of people say, well, you got to be a hotel manager, you got to be executive chef. I think we need to reflect on the journey, how we got there. Did we help others? Did we contribute to the community? So as I said, probably the best thing is to really enjoy what you're doing and take the time to appreciate it.
All right, fantastic. Andrew?
Yeah, I mean, I think the key, if I went back and talked to myself, it would be exactly that. I mean, don't, on the one hand, we're saying, think about kind of the next step and always have that at least in your mind, but really enjoy what you're doing. Like, I mean, there's days where I'm in the kitchen and I say, God, I wish I could just be washing dishes for the next 8 hours, or my only focus was garde or pantry, right? Like, that's all I have to do is just stock this station, jam it out during service, so we always kind of, the grass is always greener as we move on to the next pasture. So yeah, I mean, that would be it, is enjoy it. And then the other thing too, and is get a hobby, right? Like nowadays it's a little bit different, but at least when I was in the kitchen, right, it was a cult thing to be like, oh, I worked 18 hours a day, 50 days in a row. Like, you wanted to outdo the next guy. And then after that, you're like, wait a minute, all I've got to show is a bunch of calluses. I can't even play chopsticks on the piano. So, get a hobby and allow that hobby to actually accelerate your real work and simultaneously kind of play off each other. So
That's great advice. Starla.
Wow, that's a really in-depth question. If I could go back 20 years, I would it would have been two things. One I would have went to school earlier, or I would have stayed within the same job or corporation for the last 20 years instead of kind of bouncing around from restaurants to hotels. I would have probably stuck with one major corporation or one major organization rather than bouncing back and forth and back and forth. But my main thing is dedication. So from here on out, I'm a dedicated leader, and I'm gonna pull through. And I love hospitality, and you have to have a passion for this. It's not something that you just say, oh, I'm gonna start today and maybe in a couple weeks it's over. I mean, it's a lifelong commitment, and I love every moment of it.
Fantastic. And last but not least, Trent.
Sure. I would say it sounds like kind of a cliche, but really do follow your dreams and do not let your fear hold you back. Leap. What did I say? Leap, and the net shall appear. So take the plunge and work hard at it. I think that if like I mentioned, I worked in the automobile insurance business for 30 years, although I enjoyed the job tremendously, but I always had this nagging feeling that I haven't done that would make me really, really happy is to own my own business. And eventually I just took the plunge, took the leap, and have been no regrets since. So that's what I would say is, don't let your fear hold you back.
All right. Fantastic. Well, that is all the time we have. Great questions. There were some questions we didn't get to. What I would say is are all of our panelists on LinkedIn?
Yes.
Yep.
No,
Yeah,
I'm not.
Oh, okay. So either, if you have questions, always, I think one of the things Zach said off the top was networking, right? Or somebody was talking about networking. So, if you have questions, ask an expert, find folks on LinkedIn, reach out to them. I know I answer questions all the time for people who just reach out to me and say, hey, I have a question. All of us got to where we are because someone along the way helped us. And so what I would say to our students is, always feel free to reach out to people and ask them for their expertise. Everyone, obviously this is a group that's willing to help out our students. They wouldn't be here if they weren't. So, but panelists, thank you very much. This was really fantastic. We really appreciate it. Students, thank you for showing up. And if you have friends, I know we have one student whose younger sister wasn't on this. This video will be loaded back into the College and Career Expo on the Socio VitalLink app, and so feel free to share it with your friends and your siblings. And again, thank you very much, panelists, and I hope you all have a nice weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you. You too.
And a great Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.